Wanna get weird? The Witching Hours is your home for all things paranormal, supernatural, and unexplained. Join us at thewitchinghourspodcast.com for all the weirdness. There you can check out previous shows, upcoming shows, purchase merch, and more. Now, get ready for The Witching Hours.
From the land of conjurers, flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird, this is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you are listening to this program. I am Johnny the Frost, and joining me, as always, is the medium Jenny Lee. How are you doing, Jenny?
It's been a weird day, but I'm pretty good.
It's been a weird day. I was about to say, well, do you want to get weird?
I mean, that's the catchphrase around here. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tonight, a little bit of a different night than all the other nights.
It's our first night on the Spirit Realm Network for real.
For real, not
just a test stream.
Streams, yeah, where we're staring off into the distance, trying to figure out how things work. We're live.
I mean, we might still do that.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome. We would like to welcome everybody into the program tonight, whether you're watching us on Twitch or whether you're watching us live over on the Spirit Realm .net. You can go there to check us out, and you can chat with us there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome in, everybody. It's great to have you here. We got a great show for you tonight that we're really excited about. We have a lot of stuff we can talk about tonight.
Yeah.
We're closing down. We are less than a month away from the Teamwear Takeover.
3 weeks.
Yeah, Teamwear Takeover live at the Lake Shawnee Abandoned Amusement Park in West Virginia. We're going to be there. We're going to be doing some paranormal investigation. We're going to be doing some medium Jenny Lee channeling. Irene and Jenny are going to be doing a gallery reading.
That's Irene from Transcribing right here on the Spirit Realm Network.
So it's going to be a great time, and paranormal investigation. It's just going to be a blast. So we got that coming up. We're going to have some stuff from this show live from there. So normally we would go in from here into the weird news, but I guess we should do a little bit of introductions. So I'll let you go first, Jenny.
So I'm medium Jenny Lee. I have been aware that I was a medium since 2018. I've been working professionally as a medium since 2021. I am, I do all kinds of weird woo-woo stuff. I talk to all kinds of different beings of all sorts. I'm one half of the Witching Hours podcast, as you can clearly see. Other things about me is I have a bachelor's degree in art education. I was an art teacher for 8 years and still a practicing artist of all kinds of art. Off to you, Frosty.
Yeah, so I'm Frosty. I've been into the paranormal pretty much as far back as I can remember. I started off with, one of the reasons we started this podcast, I started off watching like In Search Of and Unsolved Mysteries. And then as I got a little bit older, I worked the night shift and I found a show on the radio late at night called Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. And when I had a little extra time on my hands, I decided I would like to give kind of like to do my own paranormal talk show, and so here we
Mhm.
are. And
And
so
we
that's
have
what
been
we've been
doing
doing.
this for 3 years,
This is episode 105.
3.5 years.
Yeah, 105. So we've been doing this a
105.
while, and we're excited to bring this. We're excited to bring this show over to Spirit Realm Network, and so that is kind of the thing for. That is kind of the highlight for the show. If you want to know what the Witching Hours is about, the Witching Hours is your home for all things paranormal, supernatural, and weird. We talk
Unexplained.
about everything from paranormal investigation to time travel and UFOs and contactees and cryptids and, well, whatever leads us down that road. The format I had for this is Jenny would typically have to find me at a party when it got too late, and I would be talking to somebody talking to someone about ghosts and aliens, and she would have a hell of a time pulling me away from the conversation.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to be doing here for you. And let's go ahead and get to it. Jenny, are you ready for the weird news?
I don't know. There's a lot of There's so much bad news happening right now. I'm hoping there's something decent in there.
Well, first story out tonight.
I don't want to hear nothing about no plastics. I'll tell you that much.
Hours before a solar eclipse, spruce trees talk to each other.
Oh, yay. This is a good one.
A new study has revealed that spruce trees may be far more interconnected and intelligent than previously thought. An international team of scientists from Italy, the UK, Spain, and Australia has discovered that these trees not only respond collectively to our solar eclipses, but older trees may also remember past events and help guide the forest response.
Nice.
Using specially designed bioelectrical sensors placed throughout a spruce forest in Italy's Dolomite Mountains, researchers recorded the tree's activity before and during a solar eclipse. They found a surprising result. The electrical signals from individual trees became significantly more synchronized, almost as if the forests were responding as a single unified organism.
Nice.
Lead researcher Alessandro Chiolario from the Italian Institute of Technology described the forest as an orchestra of phase-correlated plants, emphasizing that this synchronization doesn't come from physical interactions, but a deeper kind of dynamic communication, possibly explained by advanced physics, including quantum field theory. So there we go. They emphasize the critical role of these elder trees in maintaining the resilience of forest ecosystems, saying they serve as pillars of ecological memory and help younger trees prepare for what is to come.
I just read a whole book about that.
Yeah. I actually had another story down the line, but they're two connected. So we'll go to the next story, which is plants scream when they're cut.
Oh, good Lord. Now we
For
can't eat
centuries,
plants either.
humans have viewed
What are we
plants
supposed to eat, man?
Plants have viewed plants as stoic green stalwarts of nature, keeping to themselves unless a gentle breeze made them rustle. But your tomato isn't begging for a stay of execution before you turn it into salsa, but it is emitting screams in the form of high-pitched popping or clicking noises. These are ultrasonic stress signals that are basically a botanical panic attack belted out when it's thirsty, injured, or otherwise has a rough go. So these sounds are way out of human range, but not out of Mother Nature's. Bugs, animals, and other plants can hear what they may be an eavesdropping for eons. Israeli evolutionary biologist Dr. Haddani and her team at Tel Aviv University confirmed this inaudible response by placing tomato and tobacco plants in a soundproof chamber, poking them, starving them for water, and then recording the sounds they made.
Good Lord.
Using machine learning,
plants.
they trained an algorithm to distinguish between plants that were happy, plants that were dehydrated, and plants that had been cut. Stressed plants clicked up to 40 times an hour. Different species had different stress sound profiles, suggesting this isn't strictly tomato behavior, but a widespread plant behavior.
Yeah.
As for how they make the noise, one theory is that there's tiny air bubble explosions that happen inside their stems, essentially the plant version of cracking your knuckles. So what does this mean for us? The article
we're not allowed to eat anything.
Well, there are some good things that could come from this. Like in the future, could your smart home let you know when your plant needs some water? Or maybe one day, you know, I don't know. Like
I
there's
don't
some
know.
things that could come out of that. But yeah, that's a significant insight into plants. But we've been talking about the Wood Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, from that was like one of the first stories that kind of popped up on the witching hours. So it's
Yeah.
kind of been something that's
It was discovered in like 2008, so it's been around for a long time now.
yeah, it's been some information. Okay. The next story for tonight, scientists explore brain glitch that is the exact opposite of deja vu.
Huh.
So most of us
Tell us more.
So most of us are familiar with the sensation of having lived a particular moment before, a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenon known as deja vu. If you've had deja vu, feel free to let us know in the comments too. Deja vu is a pretty fascinating topic, but there is another lesser known variation that is known as Jamas vu that can
Oh.
occur when you get the sense that something that should be familiar to you suddenly feels alien or unknown. Have you
Oh.
ever had that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah. And then like to things that should be normal.
Yeah.
Like,
And
have
all of
you
a
ever
sudden it
looked in
seems
the mirror
odd.
and not recognized your face? Has that ever
Yeah,
happened to you?
a little bit.
If that's happened to me.
It definitely happens to me with words.
So yeah, what it has pronounce it again?
Uh, it's Jamais. So Jemavu, since it's French, I would imagine.
Mm-mm-mm.
An example of this one. Um, an example of this once happened to psychology professor Dr. Akira O'Connor of the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, who has since been working to understand how the phenomenon arises. He had been driving along when all of a sudden he got an overwhelming sense and had to pull over to remind himself how to use the steering wheel and pedals.
Mm.
He
Mhm.
and his colleagues have since determined that this strange sensation can happen when something you were doing, such as driving, becomes so automatic that your brain suddenly snaps you out of that automation and requires you to consciously think about it again.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Or like where you have like I mean, that's kind of like what we call like the brain fart, right?
Hmm.
Like somebody asks you what your birthday is and all of a sudden you can't remember it.
Yeah, you can't remember.
Huh? What?
So, yeah,
My
around
birthday?
70% of the people who participated in the study uh, ended up having to stop at least once due to Je m'en vu. So what they had them doing is they had them volunteers repeatedly write down the same word over and over,
Mm.
and then they would forget. So you can experience it yourself by verbally repeating the same word over and over. The feeling of unreality is in fact a reality check. The researcher team wrote. It makes sense that this has to happen. Our cognitive systems must stay flexible, allowing us to direct our attention to whatever is needed rather than getting lost in repetitive tasks for too long. But yeah, the opposite of deja vu, which is something we've talked about quite a bit. Now, the last story for tonight, is going to be something we're going to talk about with a guest a couple of weeks from now, or something very similar.
Okay.
So, Suzanne Summers' AI robot reunites widower Alan Hamill with the late actress. So,
Mm.
Suzanne Summers was united with her widower, Alan Hamill, via artificial intelligence, a robotic replica of the late actress who died in October 2023, just one day before her 77th birthday, was created by Realbotics Corp in partnership with Hollow.ai. Hamill, 88, worked with Realbotics to create a digital twin of the Three's Company star capable of recalling their special moments as a couple. Meeting you was like a breath of fresh air, Summers' robot told Hamill in a video, a public demonstration that was obtained by the U.S.A. article creator. Your energy is uplifting, and so on and so forth. One of the demonstrators on the stage then asked Summers' robot, "Do you remember the name Alan Hamill?" And she did respond. Summers' robot, which features her signature blonde hair, imitates both her voice and speech patterns using recordings and footage taken from her throughout her life.
Mm.
Realbotics used a platform known as Hollow.ai to give human-like conversation AI a physical form in a Realbotics robot. The companies believed it is the first of its kind collaboration between robotics and AI developers. And this is going to be something that we're going to be talking about, the
Yeah.
Eternal Diary, just in a couple of weeks. AI and what role AI can make with people who have had loved ones cross over.
I wonder if Suzanne Summers knew that she was going to have a robot of herself afterwards.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of ethical questions that get brought up with that. And me and you have kind of been having conversations knowing that we're going to talk about this on the show.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of pros. I think there's a lot of cons. I think
Mhm.
there's some things that you're going to have to think about what the ramifications of things like that can be and like when it should be done.
Or are there ramifications?
Yeah. And then like, you obviously aren't going to do something like that the next day.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, yeah.
what
It
is the
took
mental
3 years.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll
But
give you a conversation. So
to specifically go with that story, in order for the first one to be made, it was probably good that it was someone famous because they have so much footage and audio recording of Suzanne Summers that they could put in there,
yeah. Mhm.
like how much does the average person have of themselves? Really?
Yeah. Mhm.
Probably not a lot for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's right. Like how much that'll change, I think, as time keeps moving.
Yeah, if this is going to be a thing, people will want to make sure they record
Yeah.
their
Yeah, we'll
loved
see.
ones. Yeah. Interesting. These are
That
interesting
was
stories.
the weird news.
I don't know how I feel about tomatoes screaming. Ay, ay, ay.
I know. Now you can't even have a salad.
I
Right?
can't even eat plants. Dang it.
Anthony Simonelli has over 50 years of paranormal investigating and is a spiritual sketch artist. He is one of the hosts of Seekrs Chronicles Paranormal Historians, the podcast, which you can listen to on ERRT Radio and YouTube. He is the founder of the Seekrs Club of the Paranormal New York City Investigation Team since 1996 and has appeared on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Night Shift. Episode 13, Season 1, he was a ghost hunting consultant for Ghost Team, the movie. Anthony is a parapublic speaker and fundraiser and organizer of historical locations. Kim, the ghost history medium, is an evidential spirit and location medium. It wasn't until she moved to New Jersey in 2014 that she began to have spirit encounters in the woods, and since 2019 began intensive mediumship training and paranormal investigating. For location readings, she uses a combination of mediumship, psychicism, and remote viewing, but also offers one-on-one and gallery-style mediumship services. In addition to the spooky, she is a veterinarian, and her paranormal mediumship website and blog with mediumship services can be found at ghosthistorymedium.com, and you can find her on Facebook under Ghost History Medium. Jenny Colucci is a paranormal investigator and researcher with the Parasite Experience based out of New Jersey and New York. She grew up in Rochester, New York, and has an educational background in chemistry, physics, and foreign languages. She earned her degrees at Rutgers University. Jenny has been investigating the paranormal for nearly 30 years. She and the Parasite team rely on an approach they call science and sensitivity, combining the work of sensitives with an experiment-based approach to investigations. Jenny also focuses on critical thinking as a way to increase understanding and reduce fear for individuals and locations experiencing paranormal activity. Her recent experiments and interests are in the areas of thought forms, tulpas, I haven't heard that term before, and doppelgangers, which I want to make sure we talk about tonight. Jenny has appeared on numerous podcasts and programs, including the Grave Talks, Ghosts in the Valley, and others, and most recently appeared in the 2022 film, The Ghosts of Somerville, The Old Dutch Parsonage. Please welcome to the show Anthony Simonelli, Jenny Colucci, and Kim. How are y'all doing tonight?
Hello.
Doing good.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
We're so excited to have you guys on. There's so much to talk about. I guess we should go ahead and get started. I guess just to kind of go through, we read in your bios a little bit, but let's go through. I guess starting with Anthony, we'll kind of go through the list here and like what kind of started your interest in the paranormal and how you got involved in the paranormal field.
Well, I've been experiencing things since a young age of like 3 years old, from spirits and, more of like shadows and voices and, being touched and, from 3 years old. And, that's how I really much, got started. Because when I turned about 13, we were hanging out. I lived in a place called Glendale, New York, and we were surrounded by 9 cemeteries. Some of the most famous people there: Harry Houdini. We got oh wow, I just went blank. Senior moment.
So those brain farts we were just talking about.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I'm still thinking about the plants screaming. Jenny's
Oh.
probably upset about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. You know, Harry Houdini. We have Mae West there. We have Lucky Luciano. You know, we have some of the top favorites of all time. And so, as a kid, I'll give away my age. Back in the '70s, we used to hang out in the cemetery a lot because all the parks back in the '70s were very, a lot of drug addicts hung out in the parks, and there was needles and everything all over the place.
Yeah.
So we used to hang out in the cemeteries, and at the time, the cemetery had open fields and stuff. It wasn't as many graves as it is now, so we had fields that we could play football in and stuff like that. So one night, a group of our friends, especially the girls, wanted to go to shopping, and it was the next town, so we cut across the cemetery, and the light you were starting to get a little late, so we had to come back, and so we're coming back, and before we go through the fence, go into my side and into Glendale, I seen a woman standing by a grave. My first full body apparition. She was standing by the grave. I could see the red hair blowing in the wind and the gown, and she was praying like this, but she had like no feet.
Oh wow.
And I turned to my friends and say, "Do you see this? Check this out. What's this woman?" And nobody's seen it.
Oh my
So that night I went home and had dreams. I ended up going back to cemeteries after that at 13 years old with dowsing rods bent from coat hangers and 35 millimeter camera and a Boy Scout compass. That's my EMF meter back then. And so I went back into the cemeteries, and I got hooked on investigating, even though back then everybody thought it was crazy because 70s, 80s, 90s, going into 2000, 2004, when the TV show started coming up, that's when everybody with a K2 became an investigator. So
I was using a compass in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. That's really interesting because I mean, you've seen I imagine you've seen a lot when it comes to the transformation of the paranormal community and like what was taboo with that, maybe that isn't anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got out, if you're sensitive like us, you could talk to certain groups of people and they're like, wow. Then you talk to other groups of people and they're like looking at you like, a cockeye and talking to you, why are you into that type of thing? So, yeah, I see the difference, especially with equipment and everything, because I didn't know anything about equipment. I didn't have a family that was really into investigating. I didn't have any of that. And there wasn't too many shows to go off of.
No, yeah.
And I was in 96. I got my first computer. And the first thing I look up was something with ghosts. And I came across Shadowlands. It was it was a site back then. And with Dave Giuliano. I think he's from Ghost Hunting Store. He's the one that started that. And so I started reading some of the stories and like, well, people do look for ghosts and stuff like that. So, let me give this a shot. And then I started, setting them stories that I had and everything. And I continued going to the cemeteries and going into locations I wasn't supposed to by myself. I started my team in 1996, Seekrs Club of the Paranormal. And that back then was three members, me, myself, and I. Everybody else thought I was freaking nuts. And
you were just way ahead of your time, Anthony.
Yeah, and you see, I didn't have anybody to refer back to.
Yeah.
I didn't, and there wasn't too many TV shows that you could look at. And at that time, there was some stuff on the computers, but internet was like how remember back then, beep 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 beep, beep to get on the freaking thing. Take like 35 minutes to get on the computer.
Yep.
It's like, and then you get knocked off as soon as the phone rings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got some information from the computers and stuff, but I just kept on doing what I had to do. I went to
Yeah.
places, and every time I went somewhere, and I started my drawings. How I started my drawings too, because you know you don't always get something on film or whatever. Nobody believed anything I did, so I drew all these years. I drew what I seen, and nobody seen them at
Wow.
all until later on. And then That's when I started showing my stuff. But yeah,
Hmm.
That's
so
wonderful
very
that you
interesting.
were determined and resilient to keep going.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to prove that I wasn't crazy.
The times had to catch up with you.
Yeah.
You know,
So, Jenny, what was your beginnings of this?
I would say the complete and utter opposite. And by the way, he is not. Okay. No. Aw. No. First of all, it's jamais vu. It's
Oh, there we
Jamais
actually
go.
my
vu.
first language.
Oh,
There
Jamais.
you go.
It's not.
yay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Jamais vu. Yeah. The
Thank you.
opposite of déjà vu. No worries. Jamais. That means never. Right. So
Mm,
Okay.
yeah, there's my little contribution,
thank you.
languages. No, sure. So the complete and utter opposite in that I was a complete non-believer most of my life. And in fact, one of those snotty people who was like, it's not real and I'll prove it
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of thing. And I was like the debunker extraordinaire. So
hmm
even as a kid, I'd be like, I'll show you there's no monster under the bed. Like rip it open, like, go in the closet, and there's a monster in the closet. No, there's not, and I would go in there and try and disprove hauntings more than anything and teach people not to be afraid of things. But of course, as one does, you become an investigator. And, in my late 20s, I started really investigating more. And over the years, you start to see things you can't explain, and that frustrates me to no end to this day. Everybody knows that. And I will try to, my best to explain it away and explain it away. But, eventually I started to realize there were things that science couldn't explain and that I couldn't understand. So that's how I got involved. And I joined a team maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I joined my first team. Really, like Anthony, I did it on my own.
Yeah. Wow.
A friend of mine and I did on our own, and I recently joined a team, and I love it because they were very accepting of that attitude.
Yeah.
Not many teams are. They were very accepting of, I'm kind of a skeptic.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
loved it. So I was like, hey, this is the place for me.
Good.
It's important though. Like skeptics play an important role. Now, I would consider myself to be a skeptic. I get, it's I know it's an old line now from the TV show, but I want to believe, but like in
Right.
order for me to believe, like I have to experience something myself. Like I can't just take other people's word for everything,
Fair enough. Yep.
But as we talk about a lot on this show, uh, it's easy to being a skeptic is one thing, but once you've had that experience, that's really when the trouble starts, because then
Yeah.
it's like
Sure.
once you have your own personal experience and another skeptic tells you, well, this didn't happen, that's when it becomes difficult. But yeah, I find myself, I'm on the fence a lot on this show. So we'll see where we go.
Okay. No,
So-
good. And I've been called a critical thinker more recently, not a
Yeah.
skeptic, because I shifted
Yeah,
from
yeah,
being
yeah.
skeptical to being more of a critical thinker. Like,
Yeah.
let's think this through together. And
Yeah.
I do think that it helps people be less afraid if you teach them to think instead of, react emotionally.
Yeah. And
So what
I
was
was going to
one
say,
of,
being
go ahead.
being the husband of a medium, you can only be so much of a skeptic because I've seen too many things. We were just
Yeah,
talking
of
about that
course.
yesterday. Like whenever she does a medium reading, we were talking about being like a paracon or whatever. And like, I'm always nervous for her when she does read, because I'll be there and she'll like sit down and do a reading and I'll kind of like walk away and I'm like, oh God, like I'm nervous. I'm
Please
like,
get it right.
nothing's gonna come through for her this time, and like I'm just worried. And then I walk back over to the table, and everyone's crying, and now all this stuff happened and everything, and I'm just like, she's not nervous, but I am every time. So,
Yeah.
So Jenny,
I
I was
hear
going
ya.
to ask, what was one of the first experiences that you had to question?
I think it was disembodied voices that bothered me the most. That
Yeah.
that were not so much that I heard that could be outside or could be in another room, but ones that go in right in your ear. Those.
Yeah.
When somebody comes up and talks right in your ear and nobody's there, like
Yeah.
that started to make me think, okay, I know I'm not crazy,
Mhm.
So something's going on here.
So
And
there's
the
some
recorded
other
voices as well.
explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. Definitely.
Cool.
And I'm also a vegetarian, so thanks a lot.
I know we
sorry.
screwed up plans for everybody
We
tonight.
have to think about, we have to think about the ramifications of this. You know, I don't know.
To be fair, Kim already told me this, so I knew in advance. So she's quite the horticulturist.
I did. We have had this
Yeah.
conversation. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Kim, what was your beginnings? Kim, what was? Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all that
Yeah.
news, and I'm glad we went back to the whole
Right.
plants thing, because we have had this conversation, and I'm a veterinarian, and I always get asked like, oh, do you eat meat? And I do, but I said, if morally, if I stopped eating meat, I'd have to stop eating plants, because I believe that everything is living and everything has an experience. And so I was like, I'm kind of in a bind of like,
Yeah.
what do I eat exactly? Jenny, both Jenny's like, what do I eat? Anyway, so thanks for bringing that up. And so my beginning is, I guess, like when I go all the way back, I love that Anthony brought up the old internet, because I did, like, one of my first websites that I would go on was like Spirit Online. I don't even know if anybody remembers Spirit Online, but it was like sans serif and all of that. And like the first experience I tried to have was connecting with my grandmother at age 13. And I had an experience. It kind of freaked me out, and I stopped for a while. But I had my first, what you were saying, Frosty, it's not really real until you have an experience where you have that, like, that you can't explain it away. I had that in an old house in New Hampshire. I absolutely had a paranormal experience, footsteps coming into the bedroom, seeing a figure there at the foot of my bed, thinking it was my ex, calling out, nobody there. And so that was like the first time I had an experience, and that kind of catapulted me into, maybe this is real. I didn't really think I'd ever be a medium, to be honest, until spirit started coming to me and things started actually kind of snowballing from there. I know most mediums begin in childhood, but it sounds like, Jenny, you and I, it didn't really hit us until we were much later in life.
I had experiences, but I didn't put it
later.
together,
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then from there, I started having all these experiences in New Jersey. New Jersey has so much history in the United States, obviously. And I'm not from here. I'm from Massachusetts. So I moved to New Jersey, started having all these experiences, not knowing anything about the land, not knowing anything about the history. And then I actually used that as kind of like my training almost. Like I would go to these locations. Speaking of paranormal husbands, my husband is a huge supporter, and he was actually the first person who fully believed in me. So Frosty, you have to
I totally believe in Jenny. I believe in Jenny for sure, all the way.
She's gonna nail it. He was the first person I practiced on, was my husband. He was the first person I actually ever read, and it was incredible. And since then he's like, that's it, it's real. So I started reading locations, historical locations, going into the history books, finding out what I was actually seeing was real, names, places, dates, events, things like that, Native American experiences, prehistorical experiences. And then that kind of catapulted finding groups, other people who are just as interesting as me. And that's it. Met Jenny, met Anthony, and here we are.
So that was the next question. So how did you guys meet each other, and what prompted you to start your podcast together?
We shared the same cell block.
At the mental ward? Is that what we're talking about?
We should make something.
And we ended up in the same cell block. I have no idea.
We should. That would be funny. We should come up with a fake story.
Yeah.
But no, alas, no. Kim is good at answering this one.
We had pretty much all met through Richard Michella. Yeah. Richard is he's just a spirit artist also. He's the one that got me to start showing my stuff. He was doing all these events in Morristown, and he started inviting all of us, and we all went, and that's how we met, pretty much. He was doing fundraisers for these places, and he invited each one, because we're all different places. I'm in New York, Queens, and each of them are part in Jersey, but different parts of Jersey. So he put all of us together to actually meet, and then I met Richie through Ron and Lourdes. Ron, Ron Yacovetti and Lourdes
Yeah,
Gonzalez.
we just had them on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Matter of fact, I was talking to them before, and they said, "Tell you, say, guys,
Yeah.
hello."
Oh,
Oh,
We
excellent.
yay.
still work
Yeah,
with them a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're part of
So
our
it pretty much that we did these events, and we just started hitting it off. And I was in a podcast before the one we're on now, and it went pretty good, but it was different opinions that separated,
Mhm.
So I wanted to start another one, and I had a friend that came up with the name Seekrs Chronicles, and I added on paranormal historians, and
Mhm.
I asked Jenny, she was interested, and Kim, and let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So these two love history. I love the paranormal. So
Well, I
Yeah.
love that aspect because that's my ground. We talked about Jenny with languages and stuff earlier. I that's my both of my degrees are in history, and so I'm a historian. So I really enjoy that aspect of the paranormal because there's so much evidence to be gained there. So I guess let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
How does history play a role? What's the focus on history when it comes to the podcast, and how do you guys do that on the show?
yeah. What do you guys want to answer that?
Kim.
If you don't, I'll answer it.
Okay. Yeah.
No, Kim would.
I'll jump in.
If you're shy,
So I can't agree more that the history is so important. I think everybody who goes into a location should really know the history. Because I think it can really give you respect and knowing what actually went in, not just the spooky haunting, blah, blah, blah. I also
Mhm.
think there's a lot of rumors and a lot of things that kind of get built up over time with no actual evidence of that person ever being there, that event ever happening, blah, blah, blah. That being said, I
Mhm.
know the history books don't catch everything. So it is hard to say, no, like Aunt Betty wasn't there. She didn't have 6 kids that are buried in the backyard because, it's not all recorded. So you take it with a grain of salt. But if you can
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
that person, that date, that name, and you can match it with somebody in history who actually has a connection to that location,
Mhm.
that land, that house, I mean, the power of that is just, it's like mind blowing, mind exploding. So on our podcast, how we invite people on and we offer them to have a location that they're either really passionate about or on a location they want to bring more attention to. And they'll send us photos and evidence. And it's great because when you're a paranormal investigator, sometimes you go into these places over and over and over again, and you kind of get like either drawn to it for some reason, or like you almost get a relationship to the location and place that this
Mhm.
offers some of these paranormal investigators the opportunity to like share about the place that they just love paranormally, like for whatever reason, the
Mhm.
origins of
Mhm.
that place. And then on the show, well, I'll read some photos that they'll be sent in. I won't know the location or anything like that. And I'll read the photos and
not at all.
see if there's any evidence that wants to come through on there. And then that'll kind of launch us into some of the history that we'll talk about the place.
Right.
Mm.
Excellent. Do you guys have an example of an episode where like something like using historical documents or anything you were able to kind of verify or kind of get rid of what was being talked about at a particular place?
Mm. Yeah, Jenny, you're the one that. Well,
I
I
know
told you,
Kim
both of you
has my
guys.
favorite example. Kim has my favorite example about a
Mm.
drowning that I feel like she should share. But it's more,
Yeah. Yeah.
sharing the history than and sometimes we find out things that the guests didn't know. Often we
Mhm.
come up with stuff that they didn't know by doing genealogy searches or going a little deeper dive than they would have gone into.
Yeah.
And we end up teaching them and they end up teaching us, which is so
Mhm.
cool. But Kim has a really good example of what you just asked, so I'm going to let her do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that you remember this, Jenny, because
Of course. It's
it
a
is one of the things that
perfect one.
I love to do. Is I love to bring the truth to light, because I think, again, sometimes the story gets so taken away with, you know what I mean, without any reality or groundingness to the paranormal stories. So there's a place in Pennsylvania, the Pocono Candle Shop, I think, and it has a very interesting history. It was a biological lab, and they were making vaccines, and they had monkeys in the basement. And you can go there and you can walk through it. It's an attraction. It's actually really interesting. I highly recommend everybody go. But they were sharing this story that the son drowned in the river in the backyard. There is a stream in the back. And so I went into the history, and the son did die, but I actually got the death certificate to see like where they actually died, and they didn't die there. They died actually in New Jersey. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if it was New York or Jersey City, but they did die young. The son did die at the age that they were saying, but not on that property, not on that land. So is that to say another young boy didn't drown in the river back there? I mean, that's possible, and it just wasn't recorded. But the story that they're telling of this young boy drowning in the family in the backyard is not true.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting that you're able to find, evidence for that. This is so this is kind of interesting and something we've talked about a little bit on the show. Someone like me who's an historian who comes across and it's like, well, that's not historically accurate, so therefore that can't happen. What people are experiencing there, what's going on? But now we've become familiar with this concept of thought forms. And in the role where you could have something like, well, that kid or that person, whoever, never lived there, so there's no way that but this possibility that people are giving life and creating these experiences. Have you guys had any experiences with that at all?
I have.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I have.
I could talk all night. I'm going to over talk you guys. So you might as well talk.
Can, and he does.
Me too, Anthony. So we're okay.
We love it.
I'll give you a chance.
He's like the host, the show host. He can talk to anybody forever.
Sure.
I actually am doing an experiment currently on thought forms. I'm actually in the midst of an organized experiment on them.
Nice.
But mine involved dolls, haunted dolls.
Okay.
And everywhere we go, I know Kim loves them. We find dolls, and they're brought into a location, and people say, okay, so and so gave this to me. This one is haunted. It came from, it's possessed, blah, blah, blah. And this happened recently at a location called White Hill Mansion, an amazing pre-Revolutionary War mansion in central South New Jersey. Right, in Fieldsboro, New Jersey. They have a collection of dolls, and they found that as people came in and they talked to them about the dolls, the activity increased. So that fascinated me, and I thought, well, I'm going to do an experiment with the doll, and I'm not going to give too much away because I want to share the results.
The doll just possessed her.
Talking about how the dolls really did contribute.
You froze up, Daddy. We didn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying, let's just say that, people talking about those dolls, I believe that the activity increased. They said this doll was haunted for such and such reason over, and every tour guide said it over and over and over. And people would go up and investigate the dolls and say, I heard you're from wherever and you're haunted, and tell me, your name is this. And suddenly they got the name on the recorder, and that doll was never named anything. So I really believe that you can create an egregore, you can create a thought form. Definitely.
Yes.
A manufacture a haunting.
It's interesting.
We're doing
we're going to be going to Lake Shawnee Abandoned Amusement Park. Have you guys ever been there before?
No, but I love it. West Virginia.
No.
Yeah. We're going to be going there.
Right there. It was so close to last week.
Yeah, you trans Allegheny.
We're so close.
We're doing our own little Team Weird, like Witching Hours kind of get together there. I guess maybe our first attempt at kind of starting a con or whatever. But we're
Cool.
going to be out there having fun, but we've been able to investigate there one time before, and we kind of think that there's something with a thought form going on out there too.
Mhm.
And it's just this idea that of a little girl, and we know historically that there were deaths, there were drownings in the lake, in the swimming pool, and all that stuff there. But the little girl specifically, I think. Well, I mean, I guess this is more you, Jenny. But
My
kind of like the idea
experience with
that this
her
is,
is that people that go there, they think that her spirit is there, so they talk to it and they bring her
Mhm.
things, and they do, they put all this energy and
Yes.
stuff into it. And my
Mhm,
experience was, as a medium, was that there is this thing that is this conglomeration of all of that energy, but it's not the actual spirit of the girl that passed away there.
Yep.
But that
Correct.
doesn't mean that they're not interacting with something
yeah,
that's
because we
also
saw it.
interacting with them, but it's just not what they
Sure.
think it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know
People
there was a child,
Yeah.
one of those swing things that go
Yeah,
around.
that's what we're
Yes,
talking
that's
That
the
about.
one.
going around, the truck was backing up and it hit into her and she died.
Mhm.
So,
I
Yeah.
heard that too.
and they said
And
that
yes,
she's the spirit of the girl.
Yeah.
and
Um,
and for anyone who and this isn't to like either like start a debate there. Like if people
Yeah.
have
Please
their
don't get
evidence
angry
or
at me.
whatever, like that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, but Jenny's experience, and is that it's actually a thought form and not the girl specifically.
Yeah.
Which
But
how
it's
would you
still,
know?
Yeah.
Almost either way. Like
yeah,
if you're getting
still there.
evidence, then you're getting evidence, right? I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
there's many
I'll
places
actually
out there
add
right now.
a layer to this.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Go
many
for it.
places that like historic places that we've been to,
mhm.
and I mean I've been going to this Pacific place for a long time, and it was keep on going. It's like I know the spirits that were there back when I started going, like 2010, and they, the place is actually a famous place, and they have all these haunting. Well, they started bringing in dolls and all this haunted stuff, and now there's a lot more stuff going on there than when I first went there.
Yeah.
Okay, plus people bringing in stuff to do investigations. You don't know what's attached to people that's going to stay there or what they did there on whatever piece of equipment that they left something behind.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. People are bringing stuff to locations
Yeah, I can see that
and
too.
leaving them. And
Yeah.
from haunted items to, whatever rituals they're doing at these locations and bringing what they're bringing in.
All the energy
You know?
adds to the energy.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
it's all energy. That's
Well,
the
and-
whole thing.
In that place, is when you have an open door policy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
spirit will open the door and they'll come in. So spirit that doesn't necessarily really belong there is invited in, and but it's encouraged to be there for people to
Yeah.
have an experience. So I'm not
Mhm.
super excited about that, having spirit be there for people to have a paranormal experience. That seems to me is a little bit of using spirit in that sense. But so I'll actually add another layer to that thought form, because I totally know what you're talking about, Jenny and Frosty, is and Jenny. It's funny, there's two Jennys.
Jenny.
I actually will even experience sometimes, like when I'm seeing events or seeing spirits, and it's not necessarily like their soul. People may believe that their soul is stuck, or like they're there, they can't leave because they had a traumatic event. To me, sometimes it feels like a portion of their experience, the event of their experience, is space and time. So it's not necessarily a intelligent being in a way. You can kind of make it intelligent by, it may answer yes and no kind of things, because that is their experience there. But it's not necessarily like the whole soul that's actually there responding to you. It's kind of how I experience a lot of that kind of stuff. Especially when you start experiencing spirit in different ways, like different kinds of spirit levels will interact with you in different ways. And they actually will have different form, different feel, different communication. It's way more complicated than just what people usually say is like earthbound or not earthbound. It's way more complicated than that.
There's a wide spectrum of stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, Mav, I've been to a private location. We worked at this woman's house for like 3.5 years, and I brought people in to bring spirit, to cross over spirit. I had about 3, 4 times to cross over spirit. It came to a part that now, and so because we're giving her like all kinds of stuff that she could get rid of spirit, and she's not using it. So it came to our opinion that she wanted the spirit there. And by getting people to come to her house and do that, and I mean, she said she's waking up with scratches and stuff. She had long nails. Maybe she scratched herself in the. I can't say. I didn't want to assume things, but she did have stuff there because I was there and I seen a man walk in the front door one night. Yeah, and I of course I drawn it. But I don't have it on me right now. It's amongst my books, but she did have spirit there. But I don't think the spirit there was, because the spirit that came into the front door, I seen it. I was like, and I drew it and stuff, but there was a picture on the wall in her bedroom which I didn't know about, and it was the spirit. That's the spirit that came in. It was her father.
Oh wow.
Okay.
And that apartment was her father's apartment before. So I'm assuming that the father was coming there to protect her, whatever. And I think that she just manifested a lot of stuff on her own to get the attention of maybe other people coming in, investigators, and because she was a lonely person. She had a cat, and she was in it was a small apartment too. So I think that was it. But also, I'm a retired electrician, so the first thing I'm going to do is check all the power and stuff. So I went down the basement, and the meters were ringing. Oh man!
Oh wow!
This was not properly grounded, and they were ringing down, and that was right below her front door.
No wonder.
Those meters. So I went upstairs, and I'm reading the same reading right at the front door and a little bit around the house. So that might have also gave her, because if it's too high EMF, you could hallucinate. There's a lot of things you get sick from it and everything else. So it's a possibility that was part of what was going on. But after a while, I was like, I can't keep coming back here monthly or whatever. It's you try to work with it, and
well, it's interesting because you kind of also brought up the concept, which we've been discussing a little bit, which is kind of the ethics of paranormal tourism and like ghost tourism. So like, what are y'all's feelings on that specifically? Like, because that's becoming a pretty big thing, like people marketing their ghosts for for money.
Oh yeah.
And they're charging phenomenal prices for it too now.
Some places do for sure.
They phenomenal prices, and that is their moneymaker. I can see some of these old buildings how they get their money to help them build the building and stuff like that. They have to have some sort of gimmick. A lot of these, and that's what's keeping open a lot of these buildings too. So it's like the ethics on it. It's like, how can you do that? But then, if they don't do that, piece of history is lost.
Yeah.
So it's you do if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So, I mean, in certain circumstances, but there's too many people out there right now marketing offer. They want their house to be haunted, and they want you to come in, and they have their little TikTok channels following you around, or YouTube, whatever they're on the format.
It is an interesting question because we had Dennis Eslock on a few weeks ago, and he just purchased a cabin that's out on a Civil War battlefield, not too far from where we're at. We're kind of down in the south here in Virginia. But he like he went out, like essentially like he said, like I couldn't really afford it, but they were going to tear the place down, and I knew that it was that there was things going on here, and I felt like it would have been disaster to lose this place. So I bought it, but like, once you purchase it, you have this mortgage essentially that you're paying on it. And it's like, you got to find a way. So I can see kind of both sides of it. Like the people who are really trying to preserve a historical site that has paranormal activity. And then to the other side where people are trying to get wealthy off paranormal tourism, I guess. And I guess you really don't know, which one you're dealing with unless you know.
Well, if the person has a building that they're trying to keep it going, That's one thing. But you got the people out there that um, try and get viewers or just go out there. And a lot of these people, I noticed since 2020 how the field changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a money making deal now. Before that, I didn't charge anything. I never charged anything to go investigating, unless somebody's charging to get in,
Yeah,
then they get a little bit, and it's never a lot to even pay for the gas half the time. But,
exactly.
you know, but this after 2020, everybody became, psychics and producers and mediums and editors and let's make a documentary here. Let's do a show here. Let's do this. Let's do that. And write a book. Let's write a book. I know people that in the field like a year and they're writing books,
Mm-hmm.
and they never really had any experience of stuff. So everybody, it's becoming a moneymaker now, and people think I'm going to be rich off it, which I don't. Everybody thinks they're going to have their own show and everything.
Yeah.
I've been on TV on different shows. I've been on different documentaries, YouTube. Um, you know, I've been on Travel Channel quite a few times. But what? I'm not rich. Nobody's going to get rich off this stuff, unless you have a deal like the Ghost Hunters, Jason, and all that. They
Yeah.
know how to. They sat down, had contracts, and Zach and all those people. They can make money from it. But now I think it's a field they over push too much paranormal into the
Yeah.
TV,
Got
make them up
oversaturated.
that people are just not
Yeah.
even. I'm not watching any shows anymore, because
I
it's
well,
the same thing over and over and over.
well, I think that whatever it was, the gravy train of paranormal that went on
Yeah.
cable television, I think those days are over. At least for right
All
now, it
done.
seems like
Yep.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was just burnout. I don't know I don't know what the inside scoop and all that was, but it seems like a lot of our favorite shows that we would watch, as
Mm-hmm.
fans of the paranormal, don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's coming down. But there are some good things about it because I think instead of letting kind of like Hollywood dictate what's being put out there,
Mm-hmm.
now we're seeing more real paranormal investigators and people who are actually in it for the love of paranormal investigating
Yes.
that are the
Right.
ones who are making their own, shows on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah. Kim,
Mhm.
what did you
Right.
want to say about the places and whatnot?
I'm sorry for cutting you off, Kim,
Yeah.
but you're used to
No,
that.
it's okay.
Yeah.
No, it was gosh, hold on, let me get to it. So yeah, I mean,
He's
I
having
think you can do it
jamais vu.
ethically. I think no, I think you can do it ethically. I think, there are some things to look out for when places are starting to talk about portal this, portal that, demons this, demons that, negative
Mhm.
things. Oh, if you go here, you're definitely going to get scratched. Like those kind of narratives that draw in the people who don't really know what's going on. Sure, that's going to draw in the teenagers, that's going to draw in the people who want the experience. But they're
Mhm.
those people aren't really there to actually honor that location and honor those places and people.
Mhm.
And I always think
Yeah.
behind every phenomena is a life. Like that was a person's experience here on this planet. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a way to do it
Yeah.
ethically. We definitely are involved in places that do it ethically. We start the investigation with the people who made the place and the history. They literally, that's the focal point, is who lived here, the story of the place and the history. But when you go to these places that have like open door policies, and I mean, I've literally gone to places where they say, if you don't turn on this light, we're not going to be able to pay the rent. That's literally what I've heard before at
Yikes.
some of these places. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm not here. This is not
No.
a show. This isn't, these are
No.
yeah. So when we get to that, I actually get quite passionate. So thank you for bringing
Yeah.
No,
I can
it's
see.
fine.
Yes.
You have to keep the humanity in it. You have
Mhm.
to. You can't walk away from that. It's not about a light turning on. It's about a human being. So
Yep.
and a history.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
rich history. So
Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
yeah.
in old places. There's spirit everywhere. So
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
we
that
are
always
lucky.
Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, I was going to say, we're lucky that we have some gems around us that we have discovered, really. Places that Anthony and Kim and I have investigated with like Iran and Lourdes that people don't know, that are small places, that are interesting places. We did a schoolhouse theater recently, that nobody had ever investigated. And, we've been lucky to find some little gems, some diamonds in the rough. Even really historical places, like a place near me that was built in the early 1700s, pretty much never been investigated. Kim had been there to tour it as a historian. And, I was like, I just kind of went over and said, what do you think? Can we help add to the history with this layer? So basically, when we go there, and we're the only ones that they'll let go there,
Nice.
which is so great to preserve the purity of it. And this is where, George Washington's second in command lived for 6 months, and, a wealthy, business, a farmer, a business person lived forever. And we go there and just help add. They say, do you know why this wall is here? Can you help us find out why this wall is here? Who's the woman that we see at the top of the stairs? And we try to get the historians who work there answers. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We're very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. New England is, and the northern part of the United States has got a lot of history, and
Sure
so
does,
many
yeah.
buildings that are still there that were there originally.
Yeah.
They weren't destroyed or torn down or rebuilt or whatever. There's
like
so much that's the same.
the land everywhere is old, but yeah, the buildings themselves. Well, you got kind of like where we're at in Virginia, 1607. Jamestown, all the and then in the New England for sure. I mean, if you want to get old in America, but you have all we're right here. We say from the land of conjurers because we have Native Americans who are in where we live right now that existed. They found going thousands of years back. So, very old. But real quick, Jenny, we've reached past the 9 o'clock hour tonight.
Me, Jenny.
Yeah. So I want to re-stream. I want to kind of reset here. If you've joined us since the beginning of the show, we are the Witching Hours. And tonight we're talking with Anthony, Jenny, and Kim from Chronicles Seekrs. And we're talking about history. We're talking about paranormal. We're talking about investigations. We're talking about mediumship. We're talking about all kinds of things. If you have questions, please feel free to put those in chat, and we will get those questions to everyone. So welcome in. If you have questions, let us know, and we will keep going. So, Jenny, go ahead.
Are we saying it's brought to you by the Spirit Realm Network now?
I don't know. I just have to get permission. But yeah, I guess we probably are.
I'm gonna change it. I'm changing it right now. I'm putting my foot down. This episode of the Witching Hours podcast is brought to you by the Spirit Realm Network and the witchinghoursepodcast.com. Wanted to get weird? Check out all the weirdness at the witchinghoursepodcast.com or spiritrealmnetwork.net. Our official home on the web, where you'll find guests, links to all the social media sites, information, upcoming events, including Teamwear Takeover at Lake Shawnee, June 7th and 8th. And our merch store, where you can purchase exclusive merch for the Witching Hours. That's the witchinghoursepodcast.com.
And we have our first pressing question of the night, which was coming from Shadow Max.
Thank you, Shadow Max, for the very important question.
Let's go for the awesome tattoo, Anthony. Is it new? It looks so cool.
Yeah.
There is a story behind this.
Okay, tell us.
Of course.
Okay. My mom passed, and when she passed, and I took over her apartment. My brother and I took over the house, the two-family house in Glendale and everything. So I had the first floor, and I set it up for like all my paranormal stuff. I used to have meetings there with my team and everything, and we did a bunch of stuff there. Well, in the bedroom part, I had a desk in there, and I had records. Remember 40 LPs? Yeah. The 33 and 3/4, whatever. Well, I had them on my desk because I was listening to them. So I picked them up and I put them away. As I'm putting away, I turned around. Middle of the desk, there was a pin, one of those brooch pins of a rose, a pink rose, sitting in the middle of the desk. And it was right around the anniversary, 8 years, my mother passed. My mother's name was Rose, and that was one of her pins.
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
how the hell did I get there?
Yeah.
It was not there. I picked up the albums. There was nothing there.
Yep.
And I didn't know where that pin even came from because I've seen it on her. I never seen it really anywhere on, in the house or the apartment at that time. So I picked it up and said, Ma, I said, I know what you're doing. Because my mom passed, her birthday was on January 31st. She passed away on February 1st.
Oh my goodness.
Right there for her 72nd birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up the pin. I'm like, how can I honor my mom? My mom was a big Betty Boop. She collectibles.
Oh.
Boop. So
Yeah.
right then and there, I walked over to the tattoo parlor right down the road, and I said, "Can you?" And I brought up a picture of Betty Boop. Can you put this up? And that's when I had it.
Oh.
So
Excellent.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So that's honoring my mom
That's
because she's a
wonderful.
big Betty Boop person. So. Yeah, and I still got her stuff. I got
Really?
cookie jars. We got all kinds of stuff.
Of
Awesome.
course.
So there you go, Shadow Max. Cool. Yeah, good question because we got a good
It
story out of
was.
that.
That was a way better
That was a good
question
story.
than I thought it was going to be, Shadow
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. Yeah. My mom would love that.
Yeah.
Boy, Lou said, I love the land of conjurers. I also love that we are not reconnecting to our spiritual gifts that we have gained from our ancestors. So many of us are connecting to our abilities and in turn, one another. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting story. When the English settled where we're at now, there was Native Americans who lived here, and they had a lot of mythological ideas of what was going on with some of the Native American groups here. There was supposedly a conjurer who lived down on the river. They were afraid of him because he could control the river and cause floodings and things like that. So that's where that comes from.
But I did land communication like you do,
Mhm.
Kim, and that was not what it was about.
Yeah.
That's what the white people thought it was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those damn white
Oh.
people, they ruin everything.
Okay.
Misunderstanding, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time, and there's a few little tidbits here and there that I want to make sure that we get to.
Yeah.
So Jenny, let's turn to you for a second. Doppelgangers, you're researching that too. Tell us about it,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, I'm fascinated because it happened to me. Like you said, when it happens to you, it becomes interesting, right? I was always like, okay, there's got to be. I work in my team with a forensic psychologist and a former police officer, so they're very good at like solving problems and figuring out psychological issues. It's such a big part. It's such a blessing because grief is a huge part of what we do, right? So we have a therapist on the team. I mean, what could be better?
Yeah.
But I also asked him, what does it mean when people see a doppelganger? I went right to him for it, and he was like, I don't know. So I said, okay. Well,
Thanks for nothing.
It happened. It happened. Yeah, exactly. Thanks a lot. I went to Kim. I was with Kim when I saw one, and she knows this story. We were investigating an abandoned mine near here, and outside during the day, and we were hiking. So it's kind of like a hike up a hill, and you see this abandoned mine in Rockaway, New Jersey. And we had a friend with us, Richard Moschella, the spirit artist and extraordinary medium, and I saw him through this rock formation, and he looked so cool. He was looking through the rock, and I said, oh, I got to get a picture of that for Facebook. It's going to be your profile picture, one of those, So I'm a big picture person. So I took the picture, and I said, I walked up and I said, Richard, how did you get in there? That looked so cool. And he said, I was never in there. And I was like, oh, stop it. I'll show you where you were. And I walked around to get in there, and you can't get in there. There's no access. So I was like, I actually had this whole thought process. I want to take your picture there. I want you to put it on Facebook. I saw Richard in there. I don't see spirits. I'm not a medium. I'm not a sensitive. But I saw Richard in there, and he couldn't have been in there. And he looked at me like, what? I was never there. So I thought, okay. Let's go with this. So I dug in, and I dug into, things like tulpas, but tulpas are more created. I don't know if there are any David Lynch fans out there, but that's a big theme in his series. Yeah, that's more of a something that you create. You create a tulpa, an alternate.
So, but
you
hold
know,
on a
reverse.
second. Was he in the picture?
Was he in the picture? Yeah.
No,
Oh,
Oh,
no,
wow.
there is nothing in the picture. Oh
no.
my
Wow.
goodness, that is the coolest story.
Well, I wanted to talk about when I saw doppelgangers in the bio. I had to bring it up because we've
I
been
know.
having some experiences that we wonder are connected to doppelganger activity, which is me. Everybody keeps seeing me everywhere. And at first I just kind of played it off because I don't know, a lot of guys shave their heads now and like beards are popular. So like a lot of guys have beards. And so um back in the day, I kind of had a beard. I mean, I've had a beard forever. So it was like before the kind of the trend set in. But like my whole life I've had people come up to me, strangers out of nowhere, thinking I'm their son, thinking I'm their
Oh,
brother-in-law,
Hmm.
things like that. But then it's really interesting because the other day we were on a vacation down at the beach during spring break, and Jenny's father, so my father-in-law, like sent Jenny a message essentially being like he saw somebody down on the beach and like it was me. But I'd already gone home. Like I was already in another state. And he like was
oh,
like, "Oh, what is Frosty doing down on the beach? Like they were supposed to leave and like did they have to come back?" And he's like getting all worried or like something had happened and we had to come back.
Nope.
And so he texted to make sure that we were at home.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then you and our daughters had an experience, right?
Yeah, we saw a guy that looked just like you.
Yeah. But
oh,
I
wow.
think there's a difference between seeing somebody
Yeah.
that looks like me, which I think you've had,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
there's been a couple times where there has been kind of like that
And we
doppelganger.
preface this with the fact that like Frosty is an abbreviation of Giant of the Frost, and that is not just a made up thing. Like he really is a giant. He's 6'6". So how many
Right.
other people are, like that's an unusual height. So it's weird.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
That
I
is
have a
weird.
theory. I have a theory, and that sometimes you're doing the same thing you do when you fill in the blanks, like with visually. You know, when
Mhm.
you make a face out of something. I think that sometimes you see a little bit of somebody, and you fill in the rest
You fill in the
from
rest.
something you
Our
already
yeah,
Yeah.
know.
our
Just
brains
like a word.
definitely do that. Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
vocabulary.
Your brain is really exactly. Your brain is really powerful like that. And I think if you see a person on the beach that's similar, sometimes you fill that in because you already
Yeah.
know so well what you look like. You
Mhm.
know.
yeah. I,
But somebody was
I,
actually on the beach, correct? See, like unlike my rock,
Yeah.
somebody was
We
really
don't
on the
know.
Yeah,
beach.
that's the
Right? Okay.
I don't
difference.
know. Was
Mhm.
there
Yeah,
somebody
no,
really on the
nobody
beach?
was there.
Oh, we don't know. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
Interesting.
I've seen doppelgangers. I see one in West
You.
Virginia, in Trans Allegheny, and I was coming out of a room, and I went up to. I see my friend Chris standing there in the hallway. I say, Chris, and all of a sudden he's in the hallway, and he goes, "I'm over here. What? What's up? I'm over here."
Oh wow.
And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. And
Yeah.
then I see Chris, and he walked into like one of the cells now. I'm like, all right. So I walked down to the cell, and there's nobody there. I've seen
Spooky.
there. I also seen him in Burlington Prison in Mount Holly.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I seen my brother walking up ahead of me, and he was upstairs. And then he calls to me. I thought I seen him walking up the stairs in front of me,
Hmm.
and he calls to me, goes, Anthony, from the other side, because he's on the first floor. I was in on the basement area, and he's like, Anthony. So I come up from the basement. He goes, I just seen you go up the stairs, the third floor.
Oh,
So I seen his doppelganger as he was seeing mine.
that's bizarre.
So that was like, whoa. Of course, we go running around looking for people that look like us, but
Now,
Yeah.
one story that reminds me of Jenny is the one that you told that you have about the dog. That's not a doppelganger story.
That's
But
a story for another time. We're
but
running out
yeah,
of
we've
time
had
here.
yeah, we are.
running out of time.
So here we go.
You saw a dog. Oh,
So I want to find out as we get to the end, and we're not used to this. We usually got a little more time,
Yeah,
so we're
yeah.
running low tonight. I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about what you have coming up, what you guys have planned. do you have any investigations that are coming around the corner? And what are you guys going to be up to?
Well,
What do
I
we
know.
not have?
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
have
We have so
stuff.
much
I know
stuff.
June
Go for it.
7th, I'll be at
Go for it.
the Cryptics and Paranormal Convention. Where that's in Pennsylvania.
It's in
I'll
New
be at
Jersey.
that's in
Okay.
Jersey. I don't even know
Yeah.
where I am half the time. I'll be at Gettysburg.
Anthony's going to go to the wrong place.
I go to the right place, but I don't know where I am.
You don't know where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I'm
more-
here. Okay.
Trust us, he doesn't.
I'll be at Gettysburg Battlefield Bash.
You-
I'm gonna be showing all my spirit art.
Nice.
I'll be at Maine Paracon. I'll be at Para Unity in New Jersey, and I'll be at the Hollow. That's
Yes.
when is that? I think that's in
Mhm.
October.
October 4th, the Hollow.
So that's
We'll all be
I'll
there.
be in those
Booton, New Jersey.
locations. In Booton.
Yes.
Booton.
It's a good
Um,
thing that you have these ladies to keep you straight, Anthony, so you
Yeah.
know where you're going.
Yeah.
I don't know half the time. It's like,
You said it, Jenny. You said it.
I mean, well, I'll be the first to admit that
Anthony's our
I don't
agent.
know what I got going
And
on
Jenny
tomorrow
is
unless
the
Jenny checks her schedule. So
Right?
I need somebody to hold my hand and bring me places. Okay.
Anthony likes to
Come
say
on,
he's
Anthony,
the eye
let's
candy on
go.
the show. He's like, I'm just the eye candy here. Let those
Yeah,
smart girls talk.
We did a thing last week at one of the Morristown things, and we're Jenny and I up there, and we're talking about the podcast, and I'm mentioning Kim and everything.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just here for eye candy, and everybody laughed. I'm like, why? That wasn't a joke.
That was
that's hurtful.
rude.
That's hurtful,
That
Anthony.
was very rude of them. Huh?
That's
Yeah.
true. That's
So-
true. Kim, go ahead. What do you have coming up?
What do you got
Kim?
coming up?
Yeah,
I
what
know
you
you
got
got
coming up?
stuff.
Oh, yeah. So, yep, I have a mediumship demonstration coming up on May 20th. This is in Denville, New Jersey. If anybody is in New Jersey, we'd love to have you come. And then I actually have quite a quiet summer for myself. So I will actually be back in the paranormal business come the fall. So that's what I got
Yeah,
coming
we'll
up for
miss
right
her.
now. And then we have our podcast, yep, on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I forgot to bring up the podcast.
Yeah, so Tuesday nights
That
and
is
where can people find your podcast? Where can they listen to you at?
It's Earth ERRT Radio YouTube channel. Also, you can see in the Seekrs Chronicles Paranormal Historians YouTube channel also, and on Facebook, Kim has it under. I gotta say this right, huh?
Ghost
Ghost
History
History.
Medium.
Ghost History
Ghost
Medium
History Medium.
on Facebook. We're on Tuesday nights between 8 and 10. And matter of fact, we're on tomorrow. So it's a live show. Come check us out. Tomorrow we got Sam Baltrusis. I
Yeah.
think he was on.
Yay.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
I
We
love Sam.
Sam's gonna be on.
One
So
of our
yeah,
faves.
it's a good show. And
Awesome.
we
Great
actually
guy.
we're just starting a thing where the history meets the paranormal. So that's what we're doing.
Cool.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll have to tune in because we've enjoyed talking to you all, and we love Sam too. So we'll have to see
Jenny,
what's
did you
going on.
have anything that you
Yeah.
were got going on?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was saying my husband's like, I noticed on the calendar that you have an investigation every weekend for the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah,
Oops.
pretty much. Yeah. But I did want to mention that we started having Seekrs Chronicles events. So we're having our first one on June 21st at the Shanley Hotel in
Ooh,
Naples, New York.
nice.
And we have one planned in November as well that I'm not sure I can announce yet. Can I?
You can say it. Why not?
Oh, we can
At the
break
Hoover
news
House.
right here on the Witching
At
Hours.
Hoover House. The Hoover House in
The
Pennsylvania.
Hoover House.
The Hoover
That-
House.
November
4th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
First.
Okay.
First.
November
November
1st.
1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
The first, the day
Thank
after
you.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween's Friday. It's the Friday, and it's usually
Yeah, so-
better for us to do events on Saturdays because
Mhm.
we can get to them.
Yeah.
Some of us work. Some of us is retired. You know,
Mhm.
so
So what's the
Yeah,
first event that you guys have coming up?
This Shanley Hotel, right? That was the
Oh, the
one.
Shanley
yeah,
Hotel.
Shanley
Yeah.
Hotel.
We have
But it's pretty
Penhurst
much a
this
private
weekend?
event. I'm having a bunch of our friend, paranormal people. Our paranormal people, Ron Laws to be there, Richard Marcella, and a couple other people. We're doing like we're trying to get our feet wet on these events, and then next
Right.
year we'll probably have some more places. But I think the Shanley Hotel and the Hoover House are pretty much good starts for us.
Awesome.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we're just doing a private investigations to get our feet wet, and then next year we're gonna probably do more events for the public.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
You know?
Right.
All right, let's do a
that
speed.
sounds great.
Let's do a speed round real quick because we only got a few minutes left.
Mhm.
So just tell me the location.
it.
Don't tell me anything else. What's your scariest place you've been to? Go, Anthony.
Scariest place?
Yeah. Don't tell me anything. Just tell me
Where?
where.
Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Kim.
Pass.
Jenny.
No whammies.
Woo.
Yeah.
Fort William Henry in Lake George, New York.
Okay. Okay. Next question. Kim, we'll let you go first this time.
No passing, Kim.
What's your
I don't know which
favorite?
one is the scariest.
What's your favorite because of the history?
Oh my God. Pass. They're all so. Hold on. Let me think a second. I gotta think.
Okay, we'll come
So
back to you.
many.
We'll come back.
Anthony, what's your answer for that one?
Well, I would say it again.
What's your favorite because of its history?
What's my favorite? Shanley Hotel.
Okay, Jenny.
That's his favorite, period. He'll never stop that. I would say I have to go with White Hill Mansion in New Jersey.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Okay,
is a good
Kim.
one.
It is a good one.
Okay,
You can say it too.
this is a town. I'm gonna go for a town.
Go for
It's
it.
Mountain
That's
Hill,
fine.
New
Cool.
Jersey. It is a little town that's been completely frozen in time. Nobody ever really knows about it.
Mm,
And when I went there,
Now
I
they
actually
do.
Yeah.
communicated with a Native American who told me all kinds of things about the area.
Mhm.
And
Nice.
so that was honestly, and it was confirmed through the history books of what he was telling me, which is incredible. So it's a beautiful,
There you
very
go.
peaceful town, but really deeply connected. So that's what I'm
Awesome.
going to give.
Okay,
Yeah.
next speed round question. Where's a place that you really want to go to that you haven't been to yet? Anthony.
Sally House.
Ooh. Jenny.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Okay.
I have
Kim.
to agree.
I would say that one's a good one. I would do that.
Well,
Mhm.
let's do this real quick. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm not familiar with the Sally House. So where is it? Why are you
Kansas.
guys so intrigued by it?
I think it's in Illinois.
Because I love when people say places are demonic. 'Cause
I
I'm
think
like,
it's in
oh, yeah.
Illinois.
Oh,
Jenny's
okay.
like, let's go.
The reason I like
Prove
Sally
you
House is,
wrong.
I back when there was a show called the Sightings,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the first things they did was Homeland Haunting, and now it's a Sally House, and that's what back then made me realize that people are actually investigating, and that's part of the reason why I started my team and again
Okay.
started going out more, because there was a psychic there and the people investigating and people getting scratched and everything else. So that's why I picked that one.
Maybe
Nice.
we need an event there.
Yeah, that is a
It's
good
my
one.
bucket list.
I have
It's my bucket list.
Gettysburg, but I agree with the Sally House. And we were talking about these thought forms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it would actually be very curious to actually go there and feel and experience what's really there.
Right.
But I also feel like there is a mystery there that hasn't really been
Oh.
shared, which is one of the reasons
Mm.
why there's such
Mhm.
tension almost in the place.
Sounds
Interesting.
like
So yeah, that's a good one.
sounds like you guys
Sounds like
need
a
to
Seekrs
plan
Chronicles
that.
road trip.
Yeah. 2026 Sally House. Look out.
We get our bus. Yes,
All right,
it's-
everybody.
Although I very may well arrive at the front door and say I'm not going in. So that could also
There we
happen.
go.
I do
You
the
always
whole
have to
trip and
keep
I'm
that
like,
in
yep,
mind.
nope, not doing that. Thank you.
She's telling the truth. Yeah.
All right,
See you back
Seekers.
at the hotel, Kim.
There we go. Seekrs Chronicles Paranormal History. You can find them. We got the link is up for the youtube.com. You can also find Kim at
Twitch.
ghosthistorymedium.com. If you are listening at another time in another place, we'll have all the links down in the description below, so you can go check out our wonderful guests tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciated having you on the show so much.
Thank
We
you
had
for
so much
having us.
fun. Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
Yeah,
Great
it's
time.
fun.
Thank you.
It's great meeting you at Hanover.
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
come on our
mhm.
show. Come on our
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah,
would
we'd
like
love to. We would love to.
reciprocate. Yes.
So, for all you people who are listening at a different time in another place, we will see you all next time. And for everyone who's still hanging out here, real quick, I wanted to just update you guys on our calendar coming up. Next week, we are going to have Candy Howard, medium, on the show. On the
Mhm.
26th of May, we're going to have Lee Elman on, where we're going to be talking about the Eternal Diary, which I was talking about earlier.
Just kind of like the Suzanne
Talking
Summers
about
robot.
taking the video, stories, pictures, text messages, voice messages, and creating essentially like an AI avatar of your loved one. We'll be talking about that. We're going to have Sharon Farber, who is a medium published by Llewellyn, on the 9th of June. And then we're going to have Preston and Dolly back on talking about UFOs. And of course, Dolly and being a contactee. So we'll be talking about some aliens coming up soon. That's all coming your way. Until then, I guess we're going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us over on the Spill Realm Network tonight. Thank you to all of our friends. Keisha, thank you for all your help. Luz, thank you for all your help. Thank
We
you,
had some
hoaxers.
resubscribers,
So much going
hoaxers
on.
and CMC. Thank you.
Yeah, CMC and hoaxers. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys later. We're going to go raid out tonight. Let's do Black Sheep Meat.
Yep, she's on.
Okay.
Our sheepy's on. Doing some making and crafting.
There we go. Some crafting.
All right.
Do-do-do.
Ready, Frosty?
Almost there.
Okay.
Not quite. There we go. Okay, everybody. We'll see you all later. Take care. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.